The holidays can be expensive with all of that gift buying you have to do, but what if you're already swamped with some other bills that could potentially damage your credit? This morning, we have an advice panel to help you get back on track and improve your credit. Let's get to Andrea Watkins, who's in our newsroom. Andrea.
Well, Jose, we're having a great time fielding questions, and these viewer questions really can help everybody. Our expert panel is here, CPA Bob Martin and Consumer Protection Attorney John Mastriani. Thank you, guys. We're going to try to hit 2 questions, okay? You ready? Let's go to the first one. Nicole wants to know, she says, what is the best way to negotiate medical bills? John, you wanted to tackle that.
Yeah, I think the best way is you approach them directly and you just tell them, you know, if it's not insurance and things like that, you approach the healthcare provider, and they're usually more than willing to work with you, especially if you're going to be paying them cash, and they'll put you on a payment plan.
Are you saying approach them right away when you know how big this bill's going to be, or when you know later on down the road that you can't afford it?
Either way. Sometimes it might be best to approach them up front, and that way you get an understanding. You let them know that you don't have insurance, but you want to be making some payments to them. But that can also come back to haunt you, because they might not treat you if you don't have the money that they want for it.
All right. Let's get to the next question. Aubrey wants to know if secured credit card is a good way to boost credit. What do you say to that, Bob?
It usually is, because for a lot of people, if they've either had bad credit or they're just starting out, it may be their only alternative is to start out with a secured credit card. And it's kind of their foot in the door to start building their credit history.
John?
I agree with Bob. Anything that shows a consistent payment plan, you know, being made will definitely help with your credit score.
All right. Speaking of credit score, oh, that was great, guys. Credit score information is broken down by like this. 35% is your payment history, 30% amounts owed, 15% length of your credit history, 10% your new credit, 10% types of credit. What do you want to say about this, Bob?
Well, first of all, with your payment history, the most important thing is having timely payments for regular things like your mortgage, your rent, your utilities. It's very, very important. But one thing you have to watch out for is if you can't get behind on your payments, if you go over 90 days, and John will address that.
Yeah, there's 2 issues with respect to a late payment. One of them, if you're over 90 days, that will remain on your credit score for 7 years. Another component with that would be the late payment, but that will sort of amortize over time. But you definitely need to timely pay.
What about the other things that are on this, though? The amounts that you owe?
What's important here is do not max out your credit lines. It can be a temptation. Say you have 3 or 4 credit cards, and say one of those pays more bonus points or something like that. You don't want to get near the maximum limit on that credit card. You want to spread it out and have a lower percentage on each credit card as to the amount of debt you have on those.
What about new credit and types of credit? What are you talking about in that case?
Well, you have to be very careful. You don't want to go out and just apply for a number of new credit cards at once. If that will be very suspicious to the credit bureaus. And so you need to time this. And if there's a good chance you're going to get turned down on something, you may not even want to fill out the paperwork, because that's going to be a negative mark.
If somebody starts doing everything right, John, how long does it take to really see an improvement in your credit score?
Well, as I say, you know, it usually takes about really 6 months to a year of a consistent payments to see an improvement. Of course, a lot of it has to do with how bad you were to begin with, but about 6 months to a year.
All right. Well, I know that's your expertise, John, so people should look you up if they need some help with that. All right, we got another segment coming up, and something that Bob sort of alluded to. We have a question about what do you do if there's a lot of credit inquiries that you're trying to deal with and it's causing trouble. So we'll talk about that in the next hour. Back to you.
Good questions from our viewers and great responses from our guests. Thank you, Andrea.